Mute.
They ask me who I am. For the culture. Yeah. They ask me who I am. I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from. I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. When I say Israelite, they say you Jewish. Look, don't be foolish. Come get a dose of this mental renewing. See how we brew it, it's just different. Like, for instance, first thing to know, brother, it's a culture, no religion. Talking the bloodline, they say we Jacob children. And yeah, that's a factor, but what really matter, how we living? Given that we gotta get Beseda, that mean in order. For that we got that Torah, some brothers we got Basora. Of course, and some don't believe, but that don't matter today. I ain't tryna throw no shade, as long as we all stay in the way. That 613, we coolin' like palm trees. A couple of that, yeah, you ain't a fam, know what I mean? They ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from, I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. He said that we the light, got no choice but to shine. By the sweat of your brow, now you see why we grind. How we do, and we move to keep that ruach in our midst. When we eat, I got a list. Wanna build, break out them scripts. We don't hate and we don't diss. We ain't worried about another. He called us his firstborn. You can call us big brother. Look deeper and you'll discover. In your movies and shows, truth been exposed. What you know about those captured and sold. The Igbo and the Ashanti. Check out your history, never lost. Ain't gotta find me. Right where we meant to be, rebellion. Led to expulsion, repentance, fix that. Y'all gotta get back. I can call them big facts. They ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from, I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. Hey, we ain't saying this our salvation or nothing, but the Most High just put his name on it, so we represent. All praise. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone. Welcome back to another segment of Yah Conscience Radio, where if it's not Yah Conscience, it is not acceptable. Reshit אנחנו רוצים לתת כבוד ושבחות ליהוה אלוהי אברהם, Yitzchak Yaakov. First, we want to give honor and praise to He who had to cause us to be or exist, the most high power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What's going on, everyone? It's been a minute. It's been too long.
Hey, shalom, Aki. Cain, indeed.
Shalom. Yes, and for those that's listening or tuning in or watching back, the song that was played was by none other than Dawood Akeem from Yehudi Gang, who I am also a part of. I'm an Israelite. That is our anthem. That's our anthem. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So I'm excited. I don't know about you all. I'm excited. It's been a while. You know, I know you all agree with me when I say that we can't do it too long like that again. It's been like a few weeks, you know? Few weeks.
I agree.
Okay. But how you all doing? Everything good? The week has been okay. Everybody bouncing back from any Any stress? Any, if
I don't know.
any?
I just feel like we're gonna be on a roller coaster ride from henceforth.
Man,
Uh, it's prophesied. We know biblical prophecy and things like that. I just feel like pace yourselves.
dang, dang. All right, Chief Zebulon, how you doing, man? How you good? You good? You good, Chief?
All is well. All is well, family. Just moving to and fro. That's it.
Okay.
I need my bean. I need my bean. I understand. I'm about to say I understand in the Hebrew again when I'm trying to translate it to you all. But anyway, let's go. Let's go. We're going to go with the first topic of the day. Today is interesting. There's some interesting topics. I think it's important. We see it going around in our community often. So this was some good questions that was asked by one of our panelists, none other than Chief. So let's get it started, you all. Let's get it started. First question. All right. So topic is celebrities and the truth. Celebrities and the truth. Is it a genuine awakening? Is it a genuine awakening, or is it a fad? Is it a genuine awakening, or is it a fad? Celebrities and the truth. Um, good better, Sharon. What you got? What you got for us?
Kane, I would have to say it depends on the celebrity. Um, Whenever I look at a celebrity coming into the truth, I always try to judge them on the level of the totem pole that they on. If you come into the truth and it gets you higher or it brings you lower as far as your status in the celebrity world. So we see examples in the celebrity world where people speak out against injustice. They speak out, against the fraudulent activities that the government do and implement with their policies and things like that. um they cancel you. We got a such thing as cancel cost culture. So it, it almost seems like the more you come from out of their celebrity centered world and live on the outskirts and really see uh the world for what it is, I feel like the lower your status is in the community. I mean the celebrity community per se. So I always kind of like correlate it with on a level, on their success level to a certain extent. So I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I would like to use the brother that, oh my goodness, okay. Well, I would like to use the brother. And it's no offense.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to use the brother that once played in Tropic Thunder with Robert Downey Jr. His name is Brandon TJ Jackson,
I
right?
was actually gonna bring him up too. Let's go ahead. Great,
So
great
you
minds.
see,
Great
so
minds.
you see his spiritual growth throughout his time in Hollywood versus his time after he claimed the truth. And you
Yeah.
see how that brought his status down low. Not for the people, that knows the most high and that knows this law and statute and commandment, but for the masses, you know.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what I want to say about that. It really depends on the celebrity and their status after they claim the truth. If you claiming the truth and your success level is still at a high rate in the celebrity community, no, it's a facade. It's a facade. My opinion. But if I see that you are a celebrity and you claim the truth, then you have this title behind you that you once were a celebrity. You're not a celebrity anymore. So it's one of those things for me.
I,
Touche.
I love what you brought out too, because I mean when you are looking at our literature, it's not the history within our literature, and of course, Chief Prince Zebulon, let me know your thoughts if I'm out of order or wrong on this, but you don't see a lot of people to where their statuses um, are great or high when it comes to dealing with another people. Um, you see them, managing with them, but you don't see a lot or everybody that was true servants of the Most High Yah in that fashion. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it because I do got some things to say, but I want to go ahead and pass it unless you all are cool with me continuing on my portion of it. Okay, hello. Okay, okay, all right.
I'm
So
Sheila, right?
I love what she brought out because I literally was going to bring out two individuals in particular, and I don't know anybody else that are like these two individuals. One is a proclaimed person within the truth, and that's who she brought out, Brandon T. Jackson. And the other one is not in the truth or the way, as far as I would say walking it. Now, again, I don't know Brandon T. Jackson personally. I don't know any of these celebrities personally. I think that we don't know exactly where their thoughts is. We don't know exactly what their motives are. We don't know exactly what their levels are. That's important, I believe, too. It still doesn't negate the fact what Ahud Sharon brought out, because I believe that is true, especially if you are someone that's going full fledged right into it, like a Brandon T. Jackson, from what I can see. But the other person, what I gotta take my head off to, he stuck his ground, he stood strong, and I haven't been watching sports like that. But Kyrie Irving, I don't know if you all are familiar with Kyrie Irving, those
Game.
that's listening in or those that's listening back, but he didn't do that according to what they're showing us. He didn't do that vaccine shot. You know, he set back. He he like, I'm not gonna play basketball. I'm not gonna play. And he stood it for the truth that he thought to be. Now, what does that? How does that relate to us as Israel or Israelites? Somebody like that, if he was to, you know, come on over as a celebrity, I would believe that he would probably be one close to like a Brandon T, based off of standing what he believed that truth was. And his was on a large scale. You talking about all the money that he gave up for not playing. He still was getting paid, I believe, but I don't know if he was getting paid the same. Somebody could correct me. But I'm gonna pass the mic. Let's go to the better Kathy. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, shalom, shalom, shalom. Wow. So I guess I would have to agree with Sister Sharon that it definitely is based on an individual basis. But I'm glad you also pointed out someone that did stand their ground, because I was not familiar with that person. But I wanted to add to the conversation was that, okay, let's look at like Nick Cannon.
Mm.
Look at the ridicule that he received, the backlash that he received. Um, and what a lot of people don't know, it was from his producers, from people that run the shows. But what I don't think a lot of people understand is that these companies, these businesses are owned by Jewish people. You're standing up there telling people, them to your face, on nationality. You're using your platform, national TV, to say who you are, who you belong to.
Mm.
That was not easily accepted. And I think, like you just said, it takes a strong person that understands and believe, not to get shaken. Yes, I believe they can use their platform to our benefit, but I think the majority of the people are too afraid to lose, excuse me, the the wealth, the fame that goes along with it. Because again, they don't understand that the Most High is still allowing that. So I don't know. I just think it's based on the individual, but I also think the industry itself has a lot of control.
I want to throw a curveball at you. Once you're
Go
done, I
ahead.
want to throw a curveball at you once you
No,
finish
go
your
ahead. I'm
finish your
good.
list. All right. I love that you brought up Nick Cannon. I didn't even think about Nick Cannon until you brought him up. My question is, and I wonder if Akot Sharon is thinking along the lines of what I'm about to bring out, based off what she has said. So you got Nick Cannon, who at first went hard right? But then he turned around and apologized and all that other stuff. I mean, I don't know the rest of the story. I don't know if he still, went back
King,
to
that's what he
Central,
did.
but he apologized.
Exactly.
But a Kyrie,
Mm-mm.
and that's why I brought up the Kyrie part. And I want to ask you what's your thoughts on that too, because I did cut your wisdom. This is why I think like a person like Kyrie, and I'm not big on celebrities. I used to play basketball, 25th and State back in the day when I used to hoops. Shameless plug. In Illinois, Chicago. Shameless plug. But to see him literally and see now here's I'm gonna play that look what they say devil's advocate, I guess. If he still got paid, if he still got paid the same amount of money, then I want to take back what I said. Because if he still got paid the same amount of money, Kyrie, by him standing his ground, it really, technically, in my opinion, doesn't really hold the same weight. Now, if they would have took his money, they did. Did somebody say they did? Okay, well, they took his money. Okay, well, so I go back to what I was saying then. So Kyrie, in my opinion, it just shows it shows that level I was talking about, the levels of how you stand on your truth. Nick Cannon pulled back, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me.
He did, but that was my point that I was making. That again, the people that own what Nick Cannon do, they're
Yeah.
Jewish. You're not going to use their platform that they built for you and tell them in their face who you are. You pretty much spitting in their face. And I don't think he could have handled the ringing that was being done. You know what I mean? Again, what about my money? I got 7 kids, that I need to take care of. But to their defense, if they're just getting into the truth and they're just admitting who they are, how much faith do they have? How much understanding do they have? Who's there? Who are they lacking in their ear to explain to them that this is a process, that this is what you're going to go through?
Yeah.
Not buckle. So that leads me to, who brought you to the truth?
And then I don't think that none of us truly, man, this you opening up a whole lot of stuff, Kabet. We're not on their levels from a standpoint of their lifestyles. I would like to believe, and I believe I would be, but I'm not out there. So like you said, who's teaching them? What level of teaching are they getting? Is it just, hey, you an Israelite? Oh, for real? Like DC Young Fly. He be on, I follow him on Facebook. He be on, all praises to Yahweh. Israelites and all that. He says all that stuff, but is he learning? Is he getting taught? Or did somebody just say you're an Israelite and now he's, we'd have chosen, quote unquote. I'm gonna put posts out every now and again, and he has been doing it. Or like Amari D. Stoudemire. I don't know if you all familiar with Amari D. Stoudemire, who used to play for the Suns and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
He went because I don't know if you know this, Chief, but he actually came through IOG too.
Yeah.
And everybody was so, Amari D. Stoudemire, and he went full-fledged. Went to Israel. I think he converted to Judaism too after being Israelite, like knowing he was Israelite. I could be wrong about that part. And played for their basketball team too, Israel basketball team and all that stuff. So, anything else you got, Gabriel? And then I'm gonna pass to the Chief. Great points that you brought out. Great points.
I also the last thing I want to point out is that the word celebrities come from, your wealth, once you hit a certain point, because people know you. We have celebrities on TikTok and Facebook. You're still a child of the Most High. So they just have a different platform than regular people. I really dislike the word celebrities, because to me, they're no better than me. You may have a different income bracket than me.
That's right.
Your level of friends, or who you rub elbows may be different, but you're not a celebrity to me. That's what I have to see.
Love it. Rose Nasik, what you got?
Yeah, a lot of ground was covered. I don't even know where to start at this point, but you know, to
Chief,
get very
Chief, before you continue, Salakli, forgive me for those who are wondering. We got a comment. I don't know if you see it, Chief.
no,
Can I read the comment before you go ahead? Before you go in?
okay.
Okay. So we got a comment from Crystal, and it says they're scared. They're scared to speak the truth because of their contracts they signed. Yet, in fact, of being blackmailed if they choose to go against the contract. Okay. Good point. Good point.
Right, and it's interesting that you read that comment, because that's actually where I wanted to start off going. That to Guerrero Kathy's point about like, as far as who's teaching these individuals, these celebrities, who's behind them coming into this walk, and the thing is that whoever is introducing them to, we'll say, the information of being an Israelite, we'll say that, because whether they're in the truth remains to be seen. That's a journey, that's a process, so we don't know. But as far as coming into the knowledge of being an Israelite, the individuals who were teaching them should have instructed them not to speak on it publicly. And I say that, and I think Gaveret Sharon can attest to this, because I'm sure they did this in Baltimore, Benny Zakin, but Benny Zakin in New York, and of course the camps that came out of them, whether we talk about Hashaba, whether we're talking about Yakad or whatever, when you were brought into the knowledge of being Israel, you could not even identify yourself publicly or to other people as being an Israelite until you earned your tassels. So for at least 90 days, you can't even tell people. Why? Because you don't know anything yet. And you not knowing anything of any substance, you're going to go out there and you're going to misrepresent the movement.
Come on,
even
Chief.
though you have good intentions.
Kang.
And I know that for a fact, because I was one of those individuals who was running my mouth, but I still hadn't let go of some of my worldly ways. So, I'm talking about, we Israel, Deuteronomy 28. Meanwhile, I'm out here whoremongering. So, and making the camp and making my elders look bad. So there are instructions that state that when you come into the knowledge of being Israel, you're not even supposed to identify yourself publicly as one until you have the opportunity to earn your tassels. Not given your tassels, earn them. Rites of passage. So to Guevara Kathy's point, what's happening, I think, in this day and time, people are being told, not only just told that they're Israel, but they're coming across this information online. It's not like the old days where you actually had to go through a camp, where you had to actually go through these rites of passage to even get the information. Even in the ISUPK back in the days, in the 80s and 90s, where they might give you a flyer, but you had to come down to the camp. You had to come down to 1 West, or you had to go down to 1941 Madison Avenue in New York and go and be taught before you can go out there and identify yourself as anything. So I think now it is kind of going in a fad kind of direction, because the celebrities, and Kathy made a good point about that term, celebrities. The celebrities, they're being given the information, and they're not being given the discipline that comes with the information. So when they get out in public, they want to start, we are the children of Israel, we this and this and that. And I forget who made this point about Nick Cannon. And I'm glad y'all brought it up. I forget who said it, but they said that that people like Nick Cannon, or whoever it may be, it could be Nick Cannon, it could be Amari Stott, whoever, they should not be on the front line talking about Yisrael, because that's not what we need you to do.
Right.
We need you to do what you do. You know what I'm saying? Nepotism. You're in a position where you might be able to help Hebrews slide into the industry in the right way. You don't have to identify. Let that be for the brothers who are street teaching on the corners. They're the ones who should be out there saying that Esau is the damn devil and whatever, because they have nothing to lose.
Okay.
What are you going to do? Kick them off the corner? So they don't have anything to lose. But people like Nick Cannon, they have a lot to lose. And if they're going to be, in a position to where they can help their people, they should not be speaking frontline propaganda. Save that, you know what I'm saying? Generals, you know what I'm saying? Generals do not go on the front line in a war. That's not what generals do. Generals operate from the background and they push out intel to the soldiers. Let the soldiers do what soldiers were hired to do.
Come on, man. Come on, Chief.
Wow. So no, and I'm saying, and I'm saying this as far as it being a fad, because again, and I don't think it's deliberately. I think that a lot of them, they're being brought into this walk, or they're being brought into this knowledge, and it's an exciting concept. But the thing that many of these elders or these or whoever is teaching them, the thing that they're forgetting to also tell them is that the Hebrew Israelite movement, the Hebrew Israelite paradigm is not, there's no worldly benefit for it. The same way, like for instance, you can be a Christian and can seamlessly move to and fro in this world, whether you identify with being a Christian or you keep it silent. There's nothing in this world hinders Christians from doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Christians don't have to keep a Sabbath. They don't have to worry about what type of garments they, mixed garments this, and they don't have to worry about Leviticus 11. So they're able to move to and fro in this world successfully.
Okay.
Hebrew Israelites as a movement, as a culture, as a body, there's no benefit, because once you come in, you begin to realize that what you believe and what you've accepted as true is diametrically opposed to the world that you're living in. So for us who's maybe making $30,000 a year or $40,000 or $50,000, for us it's not a big deal. We'll make our way through this world. But somebody who's making $10 million a year, and now they're talking certain things, and the powers that be, like you said, Guevara, the powers that be that comes and says, "Hey, who are you to come on my platform, our platform, and say this, that, and the third?" They are going to now have to make a decision of, well, do I give up my livelihood for this walk, or do I keep my livelihood and denounce it? And nobody should be put in that position to do that. Those celebrities should be allowed to be quiet and move in silence in their world.
Man.
We should be the ones that's out on the street talking about, yo, Esau's a goddamn devil. That's our job. You know what I'm saying? But not their job.
Wow. I was talking to someone, and I was breaking down how it's a difference between three differences. Individualites. It's a difference between, when you think of the and I coined that term from somebody. I don't know what I got it from. It just sounds cool. Individualites. I'm like, what? Yes, I'm using that. People that are you would say, Chief, like the fishbowl. And then culturally, being cultural, the way that you just broke that down, it encompassed both Gabetta, Kathy, and of course our coach Jerome, because you two started at the similar camp, right? But what you brought out, and I could be wrong, I could be in the fishbowl when I say this. A lot of Israelites wouldn't like what you said. But I think it was on point. It shows a difference of those that started off with structure. And what gets to me, one of the greatest things I think out of everything you said, which a lot of it was great, period. But the one part about And I was one of those. Actually, no, I didn't really get into Zeitzotes until 3 years later. So maybe I do go into that, but I wasn't. You know my story, Chief. I ain't gonna get into that. But
Okay.
to hold them off for 6 months until they get their Zeitzotes or Zeets, people will say, it makes me think of like people that get degrees, people that get raises, people that get certain rewards for their consistency and their dedication and showing that they're true to it. Like that's when it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. When you brought that up, I just started thinking about that. For those that's tuning in right now or looking back on it, you are tuned into Y'all Conscious Radio. Well, if it's not Y'all Conscience, it is not acceptable. We're gonna go ahead and play the first song, and then we're gonna go to the next topic. Did anybody have anything to say before I play the first song? Anything? Go ahead.
I don't know if you can see my big old smile over here when she was talking, because I honestly, I got to tell you guys a quick story. So, my husband brought me into the understanding. He, my teacher among our camps, my sister, whatever, and brothers like yourself.
Hallelujah.
So, I think and I went to work with my Zickies on. And I work for a Jewish company.
Ooh.
I felt like it was like 10 people that had backed me in the corner. And they was like, why you got those on? The wife was, why do you have those on? The men are only supposed to wear those, and blah, 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 blah. It was just like, whoa. And I came home to my husband. I'm just like, what just happened? And I told him, I said, I'm not going to put these on again until I can intelligently have a conversation with these people or anyone else that come against me. And so I was just like, let's start off with, basic responses. Help me with that, because I don't want to get stuck on that part. I knew everything else would come. But when Chief said that, I mean, he just confirmed what I felt in my spirit. Like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready, like you said, to show to the world that who I am. I didn't go in that next day broadcasting to them, this is my understanding. Wow, wow, wow. Because again, I mean, they really came for me.
Oh, yeah.
I even had a brother that 7-day was it evangelist, whatever. He's just like, where'd you get that from? I just need to talk to you. You need to understand this. And I felt so choked, but I still knew I was right. It wasn't time for me to speak. So I had to hold my tongue.
Right.
And it's nothing more joyful now than, again, if I'm backed in that corner or if someone wants to ask me a question, I'm knowledgeable enough to answer now. So when Chief said that, I just I'm like, my sister said, Sharon, speak. It hit home for me because I felt that way. It's not my time yet.
The amazing thing about what you're saying, real quick, the amazing thing, and I know your Ish is right there. So step in if I'm wrong at all. If he's there, let him know I want him to step in, because one thing me and Chief has put in me is to I never want to go over another. So I lost my train of thought. So what's crazy is the fact that the great thing about it is you got a husband, you got an Ish. For those that don't know, Ish is a husband, and the way we move, you got pre-exilic, you got post-exilic. Those Jewish people don't operate pre-exilically. I want to say that. That's one. Two, you don't gotta. I mean, we don't gotta say nothing to them. For the women that's out there, you know what? I'll let you talk to my husband. Boom. Some of them be like, "Oh, you got to go through your husband." Oh well, when I first started a job, I had to shadow somebody, and when I used to have to shadow them, I couldn't make any moves unless the person that I was shadowing stepped in. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a hierarchy, it's a ranking, it's a protection there that they're supposed to do as well. But you did it. You on the money. You on the money, and I love the way the Chief brought that out and brought it full circle for what you was already bringing out, because it is a process. One of you all said that it's a process, and if we don't follow that process, you going against people that have been doing it for 20, 30 years. You got Jewish people who've been doing it for all their life. You got Christians. They might not be on point on what they're speaking of, but they're on point with what they know. And if you can't, like you said, I think you said something similar, like combat, even though you know they're wrong, but if you can't combat it intelligently, then yeah. So all praises. I'm gonna go ahead and play the first song. Go to the next one, and the first song of the day, or the night, or the evening. Yes, second. I need a sister. First song of the day is by none other than Aton from Yehuda Gang, and it is featuring Darrell. Wayikra. Here we go.
Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Oh.
When I wake up, look, I ain't for my makeup. That's life, I gotta maximize. They holler, but that ain't us. We are them humble Hebrews. We do what we do just to show we improve. Scriptures we do not abuse. The idols removed, only I approve. They look at me, that's how I do it so smooth. I tell them like Patty, a new attitude. Thanking for water and food. Check my gratitude for the most high, it is you. Blessings on blessings is changing my mood. I live by the Torah, they call me a Jew. Inquiring about my Zizi, you're wondering why do I worm? Cause y'all told us to. Living my life with no stress and no pressure. I'm doing the work and I'm earning my measure. Pull up to the bank, but y'all is the teller. My statement say I got withdrawals forever. That mean I need to deposit. Find somebody who needs some help is the object. No profit. What you need, I keep it dig in my pocket. That's Torah. I can't lie and say that I ain't got it. The way we treat each other, we need to stop it. Cause we all we got. If you look at your options, you can either choose loving your brother or loving your enemy. That sir is not it. Do not go slandering amongst your people and do not stand against the blood of your neighbor. And no, you cannot be a hater or traitor or faker. We the summer, where's the flavor?
Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Oh.
It's the real speaking the real. I don't care what you like. I speak my peace, then I dust my feet. I ain't telling you twice. I'm out here catching hell, living this heavenly life. Just for being born black, we pay a hell of a price. Man, this stuff ain't right. The way they treating our people. We've been fighting all our life, just to be treated equal. Walk by faith, not by sight. Turn no blind eye to the evil. So what I look like walking by you like I don't see you. Disregard you cause you teach you. That ain't what I'm about. When you get wise, you realize, man, we all we got. Getting fame from this rap game, man, it's all the plot. You rap trap to get record sales while they filling jails through hip hop. Got you on the block, popping and pouring drugs. When I hit the spot, I detox them by showing love. My people have me hot. I be mad, then I'm mad, but I would not hold a grudge. I let God be the judge.
Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the children of your people. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. Oh.
Man, boy, that song right there, Yehuda Gang, we coming. Love your neighbor as yourself. I'm so mad that I didn't get to sing on that song. I think I told him that too. I didn't get to sing on it. But I love the Real's music flow on there too. Got that down south, just real distinctive voice. But anywho, we back. Welcome back to Yah's Conscience Radio. Well, if it's not Yah Conscience, it's not acceptable. If it's not Yah Conscience, it is not acceptable. We are going to go to the next part of the question. And the next part of that question is, what are the pros? What are the pros and the cons of celebrities being in the truth? What are the pros and cons of the celebrities being in the truth? And I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic right over back to Chief Prince Abulam, because he actually was bringing out some points on some pros. So I think it'll be only right to pass the mic on that to him.
Okay, so and to kind of connect back to the previous segment, and then bring it to the present. I remember when I was, when I came into this walk, or at least came into the knowledge of being Yisrael, there were two primary celebrity Israelites at that time. And like I said, we're talking about early 90s. The first one was Dougie Fresh. Everyone knew Dougie Fresh. You listen to his early music. His manager is the brother who brought me into this walk, Chief Nathaniel. So if anybody who remembers Dougie Fresh in that time, he had a song called "Keep Rising to the Top," where in there where he was like, where they asked him, "Could I rock the microphone?" I just gave him a pound and I said shalom, whatever. And and he was
I didn't even pick that up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was, like I said, he was the first one. He had another song where he was like, I'm an articulate brother that's hard to describe, living the laws, and I'm from the 12 tribes. So he, this 1988, this was a big deal. So it was like, oh man, whatever.
Was Poor Righteous Teachers a part of that? I'm sorry to interrupt. Just a question.
A few, maybe 3 albums into their career, they kind of switched from 5%er. I think on their 3rd or 4th album, they became, quote unquote, became Hebrew Israelites, whatever that even means, I guess. But they identified culturally and nationally as Israelites. But this was like by like 1994, pretty much toward the end of their run. The other celebrity that people didn't even realize was Karl Kanai. Karl Kanai got his start at the same camp that I was at, Yakad, in Brooklyn, St. John's and Nostrand. He was, we used to see him come through. I was, like I said, I was young. I was 17 at the time. He would come through. Dougie Fresh would come through. They used to bring Slick Rick, because Slick Rick was starting to come around on some things as well. But the funny thing about, again, and now tying it into, the pros and cons of celebrities being the truth, the pros of it is obvious, because there's a certain notoriety. People was like, oh, you're a Hebrew, or you're an Israelite, a word, and so it raises the visibility of the nation. It raises the visibility of the people. The same way it happened with Ben Ami and his community in Israel, where Stevie Wonder comes over there. Minister Farrakhan's wife was one of Ben Ami's students. He actually let Ben Ami and Prince Asiel teach his wife. So there's a certain notoriety that comes with that. So it's like, wow. And it was able to put Hebrew Israelites in a much more positive space, for the masses. So that's a good look. The bad side of it is when the celebrities, for whatever reason, when they walk away. Karl Kanai, he was in the walk, he come to the camp, whatever, and it was the brothers and the elders at that camp that financed him to get his clothing line off the ground. They put the money in his pocket. They paid for him to sharpen his skills with I don't know the technical term, but for sewing and whatever, but just manufacturing clothing, whatever the term is. It was those elders who put the money, the financial backing behind him to say, here, go out and make this happen. All praise to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? All praise to the Most High. Yeah. Soon as he got that first big check and he started to blow up, nowhere to be found ever again. He never came back.
Wow.
Never came. And when I say never came back, never came back. He didn't identify himself as Israel anymore. Nothing. And so that becomes a very bad look because then people are like, wow, like what happened?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get people, and the same thing with Zab Judah. Zab Judah's father was in the same camp we came out of. Prince Yoel. I mean, so there's a lot of them who, once they were able to attain a certain level of financial stability and notoriety, they start to kind of slide away.
They were celebrities. I'm gonna throw that word back.
Right.
Celebrities.
Right. We celebrated them, and then they kept it moving. So, and that's the bad side, the con of celebrities, quote unquote, being in the truth, because when they depart, people are going to want to know why.
And of course, they're going to say something bad to justify them leaving.
Right. I remember Zab Judah's reason was because he was like, yo, why should I sacrifice millions of dollars to not fight on the Shabbat? That was one of his big issues. Why should I give up a $20 million fight if that fight is going to happen on a Shabbat, Saturday, whatever the case may be? If it's going to happen on the Shabbat, why should I give up 20 million? God will understand my decision. This was the rationale. And when the elders and the people who were behind them who were like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how we don't get down like that. No, you go and you can try to move the fight to a Saturday night. Why does it got to be Friday night? You see what I'm saying? Just move it. Yeah. But again, it's and so in order to justify his decision, he made it into a theological issue. Like, I don't believe the same things anymore. My Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ. Like I said this right on TV. I was just like, oh. And so, again, when situations like that occur, the first thing people want, it's like people begin to look at them and say, well, wow, why'd you leave? And when they hear that, it puts a black eye, so to speak, on the community, because now what do we look like? We look like haters. Oh, you trying to block this dude from getting his bag? Or you trying to block him or her from getting their paper? That's what it looks like, and then that can lead people away from even wanting to hear what those of us in the community are even saying, because the first thing you start thinking is, oh, he's gonna try to block my paper.
Okay.
It's crazy.
I want to read a comment really quick. This actually was for Gebetter Kathy. And then before I read the comment, do y'all remember Jagged Edge, right? Okay, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Wait a minute. We'll get into unfortunately later, Chief.
You didn't like Jagged Edge, man. But anyway, one of the lead singers is actually with Sakari, right? Like literally be on the streets with Sakari and all that stuff. Has been with the Gorilla Hebrew.
I was unaware of that.
Oh yeah, he's been with them for a minute. Like he proclaims, like he's on a level with the Brandon T. Jackson. I mean he been doing it for a minute though, But he started off quiet, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but now he's been out for a while, coming out. You see him on the corners, actually at camp, outside with them, just standing there. I'm like, okay, Jagged Edge. But anywho, let me go ahead.
Same thing with what's the name with Drew Hill.
Oh, okay.
One of them brothers. I forget his name. I think his last name is Green or something. One of the singers, not Cisco, and not the heavyset dude. It's one of those other two. Yeah, he
yeah.
He was
Nico?
He's.
It ain't Nico.
It might Nokia, whatever his name is. Yeah, I think it was him. Yeah,
Nokia.
I thought he was just Christian or something. Went to Christianity. Oh, I don't know if it was Israelite. It might have been.
Yeah. I mean, no, because he actually, he was actually running with and you should know the brother Amar the Nazarene out of Chicago.
Yeah, I don't know the brother.
He was one of the first like real truth music like pioneers, like 15 years ago, like Amar the Nazarene, Prince Ofair. That's when I was starting to come out, starting to put out material. But he was like the big dog at that time, Amar the Nazarene, and he actually has a video with that brother singing on it, and the brother got the all praise to Yah and all of that good stuff. So yeah.
You are right, because John Boy got him on one of his songs.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Oh yeah, I'll find it for you.
What's going on, Gavera Kathy?
What? She didn't know. You're muted.
I'm just being blown away.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna find that song matter of fact, the lead singer, well, one of the singers of Jagged Edge, one of the brothers, he on one of the songs with Sakari in them too.
It's probably the same brother.
Yeah, when I heard him, I'm like, dude, sound like dude from Jagged Edge. I found the video, I'm like, that's dude from Jagged Edge. Anywho, let me go ahead and read this comment for you. This was for you, Gabetta Kathy. It says, but sis, this was in regards to what happened at work. But sis, why? If they can represent their culture without questioning, then why can't you or us? So maybe it was a statement question. But yeah. Did you hear it, or you want me to read it again?
No. I gathered it. I got it. I don't know if our sister Krista gathered the fact. Let me point out that they are a Jewish company. That's why that was most. It was very, and I hate using the word intimidating, but it wasn't like someone walking up to the street walking up to me on the street, and I had that didn't know, and I had the opportunity to explain my level of understanding at that time. As you said, Brother Moray, that's dealing with someone that was brought up in this culture, raised or whatever, and they're challenging me. They knew what they were doing. But like my husband also brought up, he was like, he reminded me, no, you are going to continue to do it because that's a sign of your faith. And he did say, if they have any questions,
contact me. I would shoot him down. He didn't say that part, but I know he gonna shut him down.
Right, but he was like, give him my number, and so I would come back and I would, provide him with the certain dialogue that we would have, because I knew it wasn't the end, and that was our pillow talk. So he was like prepping me, giving me knowledge, like you already know you're gonna go through this. Someone that I was really close with, even on my job when I was a Christian, they was cool with me. They still were, but it just felt like I was being attacked, like what I believed was wrong. And they was doing everything they could do. I mean, pulling out script. Look at it. What do you think about this? Every single time I would invite him to call my husband at that given time, wouldn't do it. Invite him over to Sabbath. We host here. Wouldn't come. Mm-hmm. So my thing was, that person started really helping me build confidence in myself, because I'm like, you know what you're doing. It's like a bully in school. You want to pick with the people that you feel are not going to fight you back. You don't want to go to the people that are knowledgeable or that and will challenge you, or the people on the bullying spectrum that will beat you. Mm-hmm. That's what I didn't like. So to answer my sister's question, it was very challenging. I did resume wearing my fringes, and like I stated, that was my ultimate, response. And of course, I was shot down each and every time. They didn't want to talk to my husband. They didn't want to come over. But I did it because, like he said, that was my faith, me believing. And the more and more I wore them, the more and more I had faith. The Most High dwelled in me. He spoke. When I thought I was going to say the wrong thing, things came out that I didn't know where they came from. So I hope that answers your question or comment.
Hallelujah. And I got not a similar story, but something interesting. I know you all probably, or maybe you all saw it on Facebook. I was in elevator and I saw some Israelis. They was and I didn't know they was Israeli. I didn't know until they started speaking. So they speaking Hebrew. I'm like, Zebri Sheta Medaber. I'm like, that's Hebrew you speaking? They turned around, looked at me up and down. I got bazitzos on, of course. Bazitzis, what you always say. And they was like, you speak Hebrew? I'm like, it's that, right? And I was like, they was like, lema. Chief, they said, why?
Right, like, okay, we hear what you're saying, but why?
Chief, I was like, and it threw me off because I paused. They was like, and it wasn't the man I was speaking to. Now, mind you, I said Atah, so Atah is masculine. So I'm speaking to him. She right there in the corner, she said, Lama. I turn around and I look at her like, because in my mind it didn't register. She said, why? And then it refrained. I'm like, well, okay. I said, you know what? Are you familiar with Damona Israel? They was like, yeah. I said, I'm them. Oh, okay. So I said, I brought that out to bring out, like, they know you, they see you wearing that, and they're just gonna try to challenge you just because you so-called black. Yeah. More than anything.
I thought you were there, Lamar. Yeah. Come on now.
They don't want to mess with me and Chief. We gonna hit him with that Hebrew. But let's go ahead and go with the next part. Wait. Did everybody answer that? I was about to go to the
that's a negative.
Chief took about 10 minutes on 15. I thought everybody.
Yeah. Y'all gotta time check me and be like, yo, Chief.
All right, look, let's go ahead and pass somebody pros and cons to Gebeta Kathy and Gebeta Achot Sharon.
Chief kind of covered the grounds.
Yeah, I ain't saying that after Chief. I'm done.
I agree. What I mean, how can you come back off of that? Like,
yeah, good stuff, Chief. Good stuff. So all three of us agree. We just go move on to the next part.
That's bad. That's bad. That's bad.
It's all good.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me on your end?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay. So, if you really want, because I have some notes, y'all know I'm good for taking notes. All right. So, the pros again, the platform these people hold. All right. Back to what Chief said. If you don't say anything, you can use your abilities to help other people. But if they choose to use that platform to make it public about who they are, yes, it can definitely, bring aboard a lot of people. But then we also I guess that's a question I should pose. Should we be questionable about the people that this celebrity, which that word I hate, attract? Because to me, some of the people could be attracted to the glamour of the celebrity and not actually the message or the belief of the celebrity, because that goes back to the cons. If they believed in the message that the celebrity was presenting, they wouldn't leave when the celebrity left or went to a different level of understanding, whatever. And then that still goes back to, again, who is in this person's ear? Who is teaching them that they are, this is who I am? I hate to say this, and if I'm wrong, maybe too late, but it's kind of like Asian person wanting to say, I am black, but yet get away with all of the benefits of them being Caucasian. Either you're in or you're out.
Right.
And you can't be told, and the reason, because you picking and choosing. You picking and choosing. Again, it just blows me because you should automatically, again, who's in their ear, because you should have the faith that if the Most High and brought somebody truthfully to you to make you understand who you are, they should also be explaining to you who allowed you to be where you are, and do not fear the threats that are going to come among you. And bring out that Torah and allow that individual to read those examples so they can see, because it's nothing different. History repeats itself. That's all I had to say. We're going to be like the add on the cheese.
Okay. That's why I love what he brought out about the earlier, when he brought out the somebody at that type of status, that type of money, pull back, let us do what we do. General, sit back. We're not calling you the general, but the concept is the same. You know what I'm saying? So just sit back. If you want to really contribute to us getting what we need to be or do, give us some of that bread. I don't want to be sounding crazy. Some people might not go like me saying that, but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? If I had that type of money, man, you best believe me and Chief done talked about this so many times. If I had that type of money, man, please. You talking about our communities and stuff is gonna be a lot different. But that's because I have a passion for the culture and this walk truly too. So that's the difference. Gabetta, Sharon, what you got? Still there? Is she muted? No, she's not muted, but we can't hear you if you're talking.
Yeah, it
Oh,
doesn't look like it's muted.
No, she's muted.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna give you about 4 seconds, and I'm gonna go to the next one. 4, not 4, but 4, 3, 2. All right, I'm gonna take it as you're just like me. I don't really have anything to add because both Gabetta, Kathy, and
Can y'all hear me?
we can hear you now.
Lord, these iPhones, okay.
Gotta go to the droid. Come to the droid. I'm playing. Go ahead.
I really don't have anything to kind of piggyback off of that. It kind of, reverts back to the very first topic at hand that we discussed prior. I mean, their financial tax bracket probably is the only con about it. But, other than that, knowing the truth and knowing the Most High, like, that is the ultimate reward. So
I agree. Let's go ahead. I'm not gonna add to it. Y'all all hit it on the nail.
On the nail, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next one. Here we go. Next one: Hebrew Israelites and Black liberation. What role has a Hebrew Israelite community play in the rise of Black consciousness? Oh man, what role has the Hebrew Israelite community play in the rise of Black consciousness? I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off, you all. That's okay with you. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. It's so many different ways you can go with this question. Excuse me. So many ways you go with this question. One of the most modern ways you can go with this question is it might be a little different from what people think as far as what I'm about to say. So when you think of somebody like a Sinetta and the whole consciousness thing that they got going on over there, a lot of, like, me and Chief spoke on this a lot. A lot of the success of the conscious community is due to Israelites. Battling Israelites, trying to debate Israelites, trying to debunk Israelites. A lot of success, when you think of your polites, and all of them, your SETIs and all of them, their success, in my opinion, was built due to Israelites. Now I wouldn't say that is Black liberation, but as far as the question, what role has the Hebrew Israelite community played in the rise of Black consciousness? That's one physical aspect. On a spiritual aspect, or a conscience aspect, I would say that it's awakening a lot of people. It's making them want to research more. Seeing brothers on the street, seeing people within the cyber world saying that we're Israelites and all these different things. It's waking people up to want to research a little more than they normally, or what they wouldn't have done if they haven't came in contact with us. So I would say from that consciousness or that conscious standpoint, it helped in that area. For some, conscience wise, like conscience wise, it helped from a moral standpoint, I believe, a structure standpoint. Once learning about, okay, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, because a lot of people, they was just free for all when it came to it. So in my opinion, I think that that's some of the areas that it has done that job as far as rising the Black consciousness. And I say that for those outside of Israelites as well. So that's my take on it. I'm past the mic though. What you got? I Coach Sharon, what you got?
Okay. Black consciousness. So, to me, it's two types of Black consciousness to me. You have the kind that is your demise, and you have the Black consciousness that's for your liberation. Okay. So whenever I see the Black consciousness, that's really not for whew, I'm not going to say that's not for your liberation, but that's not on the most highs uh uh outskirts of what we are supposed to attach ourselves as far as spirituality and Black consciousness. Those type of people who branch off and do those type of things, they once came from center base, Torah center base, the Old Testament center base. That's one. On the other hand, of the Black consciousness generation, I would have to say the elders played a great role into Black consciousness now, because of their investment and their zeal and wanting to study and learn more about our culture. As far as investing in congregations to house their studies, and and to house their wisdom and knowledge and things that they have studied. So it's a double-edged sword when it comes to Black consciousness, and in our Black communities, or in the in within our people, period. So that's pretty much my comment on that.
Hallelujah. Good better, Kathy, what you got? You are muted if you're speaking.
You can't hear me? I'm unmuted.
No, we hear you now.
Okay. I would have to agree with my sister Sharon that in regards to what she just stated, there's definitely two types. The liberation again for Black women, us wearing our hair naturally, being able to wear pants, or being able to be paid the same amount of money as men in the corporate world. It's a lot to go on with this, but I don't think that we are nowhere near the understanding that we need to be or have together as those two entities. I think we're struggling, or we're fighting for two different things. You have one type that's fighting for that's here and now. I want this. As a woman, I should be paid this, or as a man, I should be paid this. We're not fighting for, the respect of who we are as a nation of people, what we deserve as a nation of people. It's totally different. It's like we're separated. So you have that black this, but then you have Israelites here. So the black liberation and Israelite kind of don't line up in my perspective. Some of it will, because again, I am a black woman that work in corporate. However, I lean more towards my understanding of the Torah of the Most High, that I don't have to be a part of a certain group to liberate me. That's going to happen based on my belief in me keeping the statute, laws, and commandments. So that's where I see the separation at. And that's my comment.
Oh, praises, hallelujah. Chief, what you got, Chief?
Hallelujah. Yeah, this question, it's a touchy one because because now we're about to get into some history, and the history the history is murky. But once you kind of you're able to kind of get through the initial murkiness, things are so clear. I posed that question originally because when you go online, and back in the days we used to do this by going to the New York Public Library, like the big libraries, whatever. But like nowadays, when you go online and you look up, what do they call it, African American or Black American who's who. I don't know if you've ever taken the time to go into some of these like these books or these online forums where they talk about the most important Black people in American history when it comes to Black nationalism, Black liberation, and in these type of concepts. What are the names that always comes up? Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad,
Okay.
Noble Drew Ali. Like, and we can name some others, but those are like the usual suspects. Because from them, everything that going forward, all of the major Black conscience, Black liberation movements find their roots in one of those three. You're either going to find it in Elijah Muhammad's movement, Marcus Garvey's movement, or Noble Drew Ali's movement. You're going to find it in those three, and everybody is pretty much branched off from there. The funny thing about that, about going into these histories, and when you go into these who's who type of books, there's never any mention of any Hebrew Israelites at all. And when I say Hebrew Israelites, I'm not talking about racially, because of course we know most of these men, these women were Israelites anyway. They just didn't know it, whatever. But I'm talking about conscious Hebrew Israelites, those who know for a fact that they keep the Torah, all of these things. You don't find any of them. It's almost as if Hebrew Israelites had absolutely no part in Black liberation. And when I say Black liberation, I'm talking about the Black liberation of 150 years ago, 120 years ago.
Yeah,
it's like we have absolutely no presence in that, in those movements. Funny thing is that all three of those individuals that I mentioned just now, their teacher were Hebrew Israelites consciously. All three of them. Let's start with Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad, his best friend was Rabbi Matthew of the Commandment Keepers. both of them were students of Arnold J. Ford, Rabbi Arnold J. Ford, in the early 1920s. Elijah Muhammad's original name, his government name, was Robert Poole. Rabbi Arnold J. Ford is who gave him the name Elijah. In fact, I have a picture of Rabbi Arnold J. Ford, and I think it's from 1921, standing in front of his congregation with brothers and sisters, and you see a young Rabbi Matthew to the left, and you see a very young, probably late teen, Elijah standing right there behind the sisters. Elijah Muhammad's entire theological outlook was derived from the teachings of Arnold J. Ford. And of course, we can go further into it, but that's a whole other can of worms. But I'm just right now, I'm just giving just cursory history on this. Marcus Garvey. Who was Marcus Garvey in the UNIA? Who was Marcus Garvey's music director and spiritual advisor? None other than the same Rabbi Arnold J. Ford. In fact, most of the individuals who made up Marcus Garvey's organization were conscious Hebrew Israelites, or at that time they were called Black Jews. They made up more than maybe 3/4 of his organization in New York City. This is all documented fact. We look at Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali came out of an organization in Brooklyn, New York, an organization called the Moorish Zionist Temple. 1899, established by Rabbi Leon Richelieu, who was also the teacher of Rabbi Mordecai Herman, who set up another faction of the Moorish Zionist Temple. And a young brother named Timothy Drew was one of those students that were there. He was commissioned to go to New Jersey to set up another chapter of the Moorish Zionist Temple, but instead he had his own thoughts of what he wanted to do. And instead of establishing the Moorish Zionist Temple, he switched it up and called it the Moorish Science Temple. All of this is documented fact. This is documented history. And so I bring all of this up to show that when you look at the early movements of African Americans in this country who are vying not only to be free from European hatred, European torture and torment and things of that nature, but they also wanted to be free of this land, because they realized there's no way that we're going to be free as long as we are amongst our enemies. It's just not going to happen. So this is when you started seeing the Back to Africa movements. These Back to Africa movements were spurred on by none other than Black Jews, who were later called Hebrew Israelites. And all of those three main factions that I just mentioned, the root of their teachings about going back to the East, going back to all of these places, this is all from Israelite Black Jew doctrine. These are the things that we at our foreparents in this war, this is what they were presenting. In the 1800s, they were already talking about this stuff, calling themselves the children of Israel. And so when you start talking about Black liberation, the problem with Black liberation today is that it's no longer about trying to be free from this place, from this, it's now being free to live amongst them. The Black Jew movement, the Hebrew Israelite movement, our viewpoint was that no, it is about liberation. We have to be free. We have to be liberated. But our liberation has to be Yah-centered first and foremost. He has to be the one that's going to guide our feet. And so, well, I was about to go into the next subject, but that's why I wanted to bring up that element as far as, what role did Israelites play in in this the rise of Black consciousness. There is no Black consciousness without the Black Jew / Hebrew Israelites in this country, because any of the organizations that you name that are in the forefront of Black consciousness, you can trace their origins back to an Israelite who taught their teacher.
All praise.
I'll matter of fact, I'll put it in the chat, or on the comment section on YouTube, some reference works that you can check out to verify everything that I'm saying. Not y'all specifically, but anybody who's watching or who will watch.
Okay. All right, let's pass that mic on to Better Kathy. You got something? You good? Coach Sharon, you good?
Okay. I had a very good comment earlier. I kind of lost my train of thought. Okay, but I'm good.
All right. Well, for those that's tuning in and going to be looking out at it later, this is Yah Conscious Radio. Or if it's not Yah Conscious, it's not acceptable. We're going to go to the next song. And the next song is none other, again. Hold on, let me get it, y'all. I'm sorry, man. We got another Aton track, man. I'm just playing his songs real quick. It's featuring Yahusadak and Maccabee. You the gang. I'm getting y'all prepped up because April 2nd, it's going to be a first annual brew bash, not new bash, but brew year bash, a new year, brew year bash, first annual, April 2nd. It's going to be in Fort Worth, Texas. Write that down. Follow me on Facebook. I will be bringing the address of the place and all that stuff, but I did just want to let you all know where it's at so you can get your tickets. April 2nd on the Shabbat. It's not on the Shabbat, but after the Shabbat, Saturday. All right, let's go ahead and play this track. And we're going to go to the next one. And this track is Mount Sinai featuring Yahusadak.
I'm in Mount Sinai, not in the desert. Mount Sinai is a state of mind, spiritually charged in Hebraic thought, soaring high above adversity, a superior being, a fulfillment of the image of Elohim.
Lately, man, I've been really going through some things. So much pain, all on my membrane. To all of my problems and all of my worries, I'm about to say bye. And dive in these scriptures and meditate. I'm on Mount Sinai. 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 Hey, these problems I ain't worried about. I'm on Mount Sinai. I'm on Mount Sinai. Who is that? I'm on Mount Sinai. I'm on Mount Sinai. Who's that? Hey, time I got you. To the most high. Bills getting out of line. Jobs getting to my mind. I just wanna unwind, cause every time I got a nickel, man, I gotta spend a dime. But I walk around like everything is all fine, cause all my trust in the most high. With Yah on my mind, give me peace inside that 26-3 of the book of Yeshayah. Yeah. That's Isaiah player. We on Mount Sinai, not the Himalayas. All praises to operate, the creator. Bless he, Yizari, yeah, my maker. Ain't nothing shall pop against me, no weapon. I'm the keeper of the Torah, stay in my possession. Meditation, elevation, there's no stress. With Maccabee 8 times, so it ain't no pressure. Make a mocha, y'all. Who it like, y'all? Ain't Kamoka, y'all. None like you, y'all. All of my problems and all of my worries, Hakuna Matata. I'm on top of my Sinai. I left my troubles at the bottom.
Yeah, who's the dick on Mount Sinai? He at the top, he left the troubles at the bottom. He from the tree of life. Blessings fall like leaves and out. I'm living my best life. But trouble, yeah, I got them. I'm depending and leaning on Yah. So I don't worry about it. Like your who's the dick say. What it say? Hakuna Matata. I'm a lion of Judah. You would think I was King Mufasa. A young king like Simba, my wife, you would think she would Nyla. And the way that I dive in these scriptures, you would think I'm a scholar. It's a struggle every day, so I gotta pray to the Father. The way that I come as a child, you would think I'm a toddler. I meditate and connect to the Father like Wi-Fi. Telling I'm a problem, bye-bye. Feeling like I'm on Mount Sinai. Holding now.
Lately, man, I've been really going through some things. So much pain, all on my membrane. To all of my problems and all of my worries, I'm about to say bye. And dive in these scriptures and meditate. I'm on Mount Sinai. 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 Hey, these problems I ain't worried about. I'm on Mount Sinai. I'm on Mount Sinai. I'm on Mount Sinai. I'm on Mount Sinai. Hey, all praises to the Most High.
I'm on Mount Sinai, not a this world. Put me on sci-fi, yeah, it's my shepherd. Yehudi picking up the scepter. Now we looking like wise guys, walking way out to the depth of me. I pray then I add to the weaponry. Yeah, I keep my life out of jeopardy. I'm peculiar, like where is the treasury? Hey, scrutinize me. I die for my people, like crucify me. I went to my yacht, I'm like purify me. Israel is woken, reunify, yeah. Lately I've been going through. I always seem to make it through. Told her rabbi, yeah, problems go bye-bye. Follow my steps, they go up to Mount Sinai. Something like Mike Epps on guard, I'm like top flight, no parachute for the height. Not enough shade for the light, but I do no blinding. Daily I'm guiding, hoping you see again. I got to be a man, so I be grinding. Stay on my tip top, I leave the house that merely on my hip. Watch as they lip drop far from the basics. Love over hatred, this life that we live in. This what you make it, when it's the greatness.
Life throwing curveballs, feeling like I'm standing at the plate with no bat. Feeling like I'm stuck off in the rain with no hat, no jacket, no shoes, wondering where the hell I'm at. Okay, looking at my past like I'm staring in the rear view. Had to turn my wipers on to get a clear view. If you negative, then I don't wanna be near you. Put my finger in my ear, cause I don't wanna hear you. Only rock with the courageous, all praises to the Holy One that made us, cause he can save us. Meditate for the day just to get away from all the noise and the confusion that separate us. Need to turn away as if from where Yahuwah gave us. Might as well stick his prayers deep off in his anus. You can try to persuade, but it won't change us, cause it's toward to the death for me, that's my makeup. Now let me put on my climbing shoes, lace them up tight and show you what I'm about to do. Follow that light under my feet like the Jackson do. No Billy G with my yeah, I'm after you. Take me higher, I be increase my attitude. I'm in your wings, so shalom is my attitude. Showing you gratitude, standing on top of Sinai, a feeling that I just can't elude. Lately, man, I've been really going through some things. So much pain, all on my membrane. To all of my problems and all of my worries, I'm about to say bye. And dive in these scriptures and meditate. I'm on Mount Sinai. 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 Hey, these problems I ain't worried about. I'm on Mount Sinai. I'm on Mount Sinai. I'm on Mount Sinai. I'm on Mount Sinai. Hey, all praises to the Most High.
Stay spiritually fit. Conquer sin. Rise above temptation. Rise, climb, even fly. No matter how you get there, find your way to Mount Sinai.
Hey, man. I'm telling y'all. You the gang. April 2nd, Brew Year Bash, Fort Worth, Texas. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be some great performances. It's going to be some great music. And we're producing something new. So if y'all loving the music that I've been playing, man, up until this point, all of the past shows, a lot of it has been Yehudi Gang. I've been leading you all up to this. April 2nd, 2022. Brew Year Bash. Anyway, on to the next one. We're almost done. And the next portion of that second part of the question is, are Hebrew Israelites obligated to work with other black groups? Why or why not? Second part, what is the end game of black liberation? So again, are Hebrew Israelites obligated to work with other black groups? Why or why not? What is the end game of black liberation? And what I can do is when I pass the mic to you all, I could play this for, I could put the scroll up for the first part, and then the second part I could put up if you ask me to. But if you remember both of them, then that's cool too. So I'm passing Mike. Chief, what you got?
Like, yeah, it's at this point in time, I don't think that Hebrew Israelites are obligated to work with other so-called black groups. And I'm just saying so-called because some people have a problem with black and all that stuff, whatever. But I'm just using that in quotes, obviously. I think that 100 years ago, my answer would have been yes, we are obligated. Because the general outlook of freedom was very similar with these groups. Why? Because again, all of these groups that the aforementioned groups that we spoke about 10 minutes ago, they all had Hebraic understanding. Although they moved, in different sectors, whether the Nation of Islam, Moorish Science Temple, whatever the case, but they still had a Hebraic background because of the influence issue. So there could have been a lot of work done with other groups then. Today, these groups have branched off so far away from what they used to be that at this point in time, I don't think that even our definitions of freedom and liberation are even the same anymore. What are we fighting for? When we say freedom, what do each one of these groups what do they mean by that? So you brought up Maury Shema, you brought up Sa-Netta, and this is a perfect example. These individuals who move with Sa-Netta, whether it be Sarah Sutanseti and all these guys or whatever, if you ask them what does freedom mean, when you say we as a people need to be free, what do they mean by that specifically? And this was something that I was even challenged with by reading Ben Ami, Honorable Ben Ami Ben Israel's literature, when he was like, seizing the power to define, ask yourself, what the hell do you mean by I want to be free? Free to do what? To expand America? Like, what exactly is it you mean by that? And I think at this point, a lot of these groups have completely lost track of what they mean by freedom. We have completely different viewpoints of what it means to be free. And so with that said, I don't see how working with these other groups, how it can benefit in the long run. It might benefit in the short run as far as vanquishing, as they say, vanquishing the white man. Okay, yeah, we'll get the white man out the way. Yes, all right, yeah, he's destroyed, he's out the way. Now what? Now we got to deal with each other. And that's probably even a more difficult task. So, I mean, working with other groups, it sounds good on the surface, but I think at this point in time, I don't see the viability in it at this point, because we're all not going in the same direction. So how can our fight for liberation mean anything if we're not going in the same direction? So that's my take on that.
And you did answer what is the end game of black liberation, basically. That kind of segued into that as well, right?
Not really, but even still, because I mean, there's still plenty that needs to be unpacked with that. But just, but that's the question that we still have to ask ourselves: like, what is the point? I mean, you can have a point and it not be the end game, but we at least got to get to a point where we can explain what do we mean by these things, because this term freedom has no value anymore. It used to be. I remember in the 1940s and the 50s, there was a movement called the freedom movement, where different African American groups, whether you're talking about the Nation of Islam, whether you're talking about the UNIA and all of these groups, they were like, hey, we want to be free, and specifically, we want to be free from the trappings of this country. We want to be free from the trappings of these people. 10 years after, something happened from the 1950s to the 60s, because when the 60s came around, what did that move? The movement changed its name. It was no longer the freedom movement. It was what? The civil rights movement, which is a completely different platform, because freedom movement is the freedom, is the ability to leave the trappings of your enemy. Civil rights is the ability to live amicably amongst them. Two different movements. So something happened in those two, in the 10-year period, where people's definition of freedom had gotten skewered, where now we don't even know what it is that we're fighting for anymore. So that's just my point as far as like, again, are we obligated to work with these different groups? And I don't think that we're obligated. If we choose to, if we find it, if we think if it's viable, if we look at what they're trying to do, and if it makes sense from a Torah perspective, then by all means work with them. But if Yah is not the direction in which we are moving, then no, we would not be obligated to work with any of them. No disrespect, just saying.
Hallelujah. Good, better, Kathy. What you got? Do you think we're obligated to work with other Black groups? Why or why not? And then, what is the end game of Black liberation?
Well, my comment actually takes us back to our previous question that Sister Sharonte, you have in Chief also confirmed again that we have two types of people. We have two types of things, missions, let's say, going on here. I don't believe we're obligated, but I believe sometimes on a local level, when you live in certain cities where high crime levels or the lack thereof, the consciousness of what our children need, then that's when we have to come together. I think according to the Torah, I believe that is something that we should do regardless. That doesn't necessarily mean we're obligated. No, we're not obligated, but that's our due diligence to do. You can do that individually, or you can work with someone or a group of people collectively to get that done. I think I also stated that, if we don't have the same level or same goals and same levels of understanding, then we're walking with two left feet. So I think there are certain circumstances we can, but again, we're not obligated to work with certain groups. But I believe that we, like Chief was saying, it's just a different vibe. It's a different request. We're no longer requesting freedom. We are demanding you to recognize our identity, who we are, give us a respect on that level. You know what I mean? And us working together to try to build our own communities. I think I answered that second portion. I don't think it's the end, because I think there are certain situations that require us to get together just as people, regardless of our level of understanding, to make sure that our communities, our children, are safe and good, and that we're doing everything we can in our best interest to make sure that they, on a local level, that they are good.
Right.
So that's my opinion on that.
Hallelujah.
Are Hebrew Israelites obligated to work with other Black groups? And what is the end game of Black liberation? I think you all covered it. Obligation is when there is no standard, there's chaos. We could pick apart judges. I always say this for that. So if there is no universal standard across the board, then there is no obligation. I need to write that down. But there is no obligation when there is no universal standard across the board. But I love what you just brought out as far as like locally, when it's things dealing or pertaining to our so-called black children. Um, Things pertaining to necessities, as far as and this is probably a stretch too, even if I say food, because at the end of the day, like I said, if there's no universal standard, none at all, then there's no obligation because everybody is for themselves. So
Pretty
um
much.
it makes it hard for leadership and leadership, especially within Israelites, because you see NOI move in this sense. They're trying to um, spread whatever word you want to call it to the people, but first and foremost, they're focused on NOI. Jewish people focus on Jewish people. It's a focus there of people that you have a universal, a standard or understanding within that group. It's a focus like, okay, we got to go with us first. For some reason, even though we are the ones that taught these um different groups that branched off from Marcus Garvey and branched off from Noble Drew Ali and the Honorable Muhammad, um, Elijah Muhammad. For some reason, we are the ones that didn't establish a structural love for our people. Like when you think of those groups, it seemed like they had a little more discipline when it comes to structure and foundation, I should say. And that's not to take away from what we are and who we are. And maybe I'm in the fishbowl when I'm speaking, but just looking at it though, it's interesting. And maybe not the Marcus Garvey. I don't think that's a great example. Um, I think that NOI is a little more deep structured from my knowledge, and my knowledge is limited when it comes to that. Um, but even with the Moorish community, they are a little more structured. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. It could be a fishbowl thing because as I'm thinking, and I think of groups like the ISUPK, IUIC, regardless of the fact that I don't agree with some of their standings, they're pretty structured. So I'm gonna pull back. What's the end game? What's the end game? You can't have an end game without um you can't have an end game without creating a game.
Right, without creating a game plan.
Right, a game plan. See, I knew somebody was gonna jump in. Look at you, I Coach Ron. You just saved my butt. But yeah, without creating a game plan, you can't have an end game. So with that, I'm gonna pass the mic to you since you saved me.
Okay. I agree with everyone. You're not obligated to work with other black groups. However, like Chief said, if it makes sense, it has to make sense. And until this day, I deal with all types of people. I deal with people who don't follow truth. I deal with people who follow truth. I deal with people who are atheists and just claim spirituality as their religious belief. I deal with a bunch of people, and not because I want to, but because it makes sense. So if you ask anyone, I am a person who take what I can from something and I leave the rest. You know, but yeah, absolutely not. You're not obligated to work with other people. I aspire one day that we can be able to work with other black groups for the sake of the bigger picture at hand for our communities, especially for the youth. However, the influence of these other black groups can be overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming. And I agree with you, Moray. It can't be no end game without an initial game plan.
Okay.
You know, and if we're talking, I mean, and if I may add to that, um, since it's Yacht Conscious Radio,
Hmm.
I had to say that I do believe that an end game can be possible as far as the same old, uniting, being dependent upon each other in our communities,
Right.
and totally dismantling the system. Because we can't say black liberation and we still voting Democrat and this, and we still put in other people who are not our people amongst us. And even our people that are, even people that looks like us, they aren't amongst, for our, they're not for our liberation. They are not aligned with the agenda at hand, So, yeah, with that, that's, I yield with that.
Okay.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
And the reason why I, when we're talking about the term obligated, when we say, are we obligated to work with these groups? Because there's this there's this ongoing thing. I don't really see it too much going on now, but over the past, let's say, I don't know, 10, 11 years, and maybe even a little bit longer, there's been this undercurrent of individuals saying that, yeah, when it's time for the people, for us to step up and, to get free, you don't really see, you don't see those Israelites, whatever like that, because they're busy talking about God and blah 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 blah. There's this narrative that is that's painted, and that's why I was saying, well, you can't. I mean, how can we be against Black liberation when Black liberation began with us? How can we be against that which we, which we push forward in the late 1800s? Nobody, no group in the 1800s was talking about emigrating, leaving America, and going back to Africa, except us. Bishop Turner, Bishop William Christian, Prophet F.S. Cherry, Prophet Crowdy, and all of this. We're talking about the 1880s. So 30, 40 years before Marcus Garvey even comes on the scene, there's already a quote unquote Black conscience or back to Africa or back to the East movement that's already been brewing. This is the reason why Marcus Garvey found it to be, a perfect place to settle in New York, because he already saw that, there's already people who have the same concept, the same ideas. This is the perfect place for me to set up the UNIA. And so that's what I'm saying. So, when people are constantly saying, well, where's, the Israelites, where are we at, whatever. It's like, well, we've been there. You're just a little bit new to, you're just a little late to the party.
Okay. I was speaking to an individual, and I'm under the teaching, well, not under the teaching, but I teach this to a lot of people, that how the scripture speaks of a remnant. I really believe it's a remnant of a remnant. I believe that the remnant was supposed to be Israel towards the world, in a sense, but within who we are supposed to be, there was only a small few that truly, I would say, served the Most High Yah across the board.
Right.
So across the board. So, with that being said, what I was saying to him is like, yeah, it was brought that, a lot of people say we're not like we used to be and how we were, in the pre-exilic times or before the first century. And then I just started thinking, and I look at the actual history, and it's like, it's always only been a small select few. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from my studies, and I'm willing to be corrected, it's always been a small few. Always. Any story, any narrative, any subject, it's always been a small few. So if anybody have anything else to, comment on or say in regards to what I just said, let me know. If not, we're going to go to the last song. Let you all close out. Then we go to the last song and close out this segment. Anyone. All right. Well, for those that's listening right now, and for those that might be tuning in later, this is Yah Conscience Radio. If it's not Yah Conscience, it is not acceptable. We're going to go ahead and go to the last song of this evening. And the last song is none other than Ethan featuring Daoud Hakim. We Riding.
Shalom to all.
Shalom lekulam. Shalom lekulam.
My toe baki.
Ani tov Torah sheshe alta.
Yeah. Appointed. They say black love don't exist. Bet they never been in our midst. When we come together like this, only outcome is success. Long as I got you, you got me, no problem. We can't fix this here a lifelong trip. She asks who we rolling with. It's just me, you, and ya. We ride. It's just me, you, and ya. Hey, it's just me, you, and ya. We riding. They say love don't exist. Bet they never seen it like this. Come on. My precious jewel, my right hand. Sarah to my Abraham. I work for you, no paper. Wait for a royal priest like Leia. Why some marriages lose their flame? Walk as if it was arranged. Ironically, ours was the same. Praise to the Father and the answers came. Shot it capable. Mesmerized by the way she moved. Submit but tell you what she ain't gonna do. My good thing make life favorable. Just to name a few of the attributes that I love. Lovely, loyal, wise, royal, supportive. So I support you, you inferior. I adore you. They say black love don't exist. Bet they never been in our midst. When we come together like this, only outcome is success. Long as I got you, you got me, no problem. We can't fix this here a lifelong trip. She asks who we rolling with. It's just me, you, and ya. We ride. It's just me, you, and ya. Hey, it's just me, you, and ya. We ride. They say love don't exist. Bet they never seen it like this.
Never knew love like this. No. Sticking together through any weather just like a gorilla. Jumping in leather is what we are. Feeling the pleasure, breaking down every measure of our love like a syllable. Always on my side, I won't get rid of you. I'm digging you. In the way you looking at me, keep me into you. Modest the pearl is still fine, girl, it's beautiful. And you be your hands up like a wild woman should it be. So we go ride to the end, feeling the wind beneath our wings like we soaring through the sky with the blue eye. I'll be your new sky, keep my ripple. We are two back, but no chicken read. It's time. Can you do that? Do that. And we gon' show the world how you do that there. A lot of pictures and commitment to get us through like years. Since our relationship perfect here now, but we striving a whole lot of laughter years to fight tears. This is black love and this finest. Shout out to all the ones behind it. Everyone always point out only the negative side of our people, but we really find it. Say you with it, then I'm gon' co-sign it. No matter who on this earth trying to deny it. Just me and you and the creator of all. No issues in this vehicle when we ride it. Cause they say
black love don't exist. Bet they never been in our midst. When we come together like this, only outcome is success. Long as I got you, you got me, no problem. We can't fix this here a lifelong trip. She asks who we rolling with. It's just me, you, and ya. We ride. It's just me, you, and ya. Hey, it's just me, you, and ya. We ride it. They say love don't exist. Bet they never seen it like this.
Humble Hebrews,
Me,
Yehuda gang,
and ya. Hey. Humble Hebrews, Yehuda gang. Make sure if you are in the Fort Worth, Texas area, April 2nd, be there. If you do not live there, be there. I will be there. I also will be performing. Part of the Yehuda gang. We're going to get it in. It's going to be amazing. The Brew Year Bash. Set your dates, everyone. Shameless plug, but I don't care. That was Ethan featuring Daoud, another member of Yehuda gang. Actually, Daoud Hakim is actually our the music we play when we first start. So we appreciate all of you for tuning in. Please email us at yahconsciousradio@gmail.com if you have any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts. Tune in every week on Yom Hamashi Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and share, like, subscribe. Going to be a lot more topics to come. Did anyone have anything to say? Any closing words or anything of that nature?
That's a negative.
That is a negative. All right. Well, until next time, this is Yah Conscious Radio. Well, if it's not Yah Conscious, it is Unacceptable. We will be back next week. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.